Like
we're tweaking.
You would
because of
think
this.
you like I don't know. Shit's getting violent around here. It's like a Travis Scott concert out here.
Woo! All right.
I've been using that for everything. It's been my favorite thing. Like,
Yeah.
bro, why are you being so goddamn aggressive? What is this, a goddamn Travis Scott show?
All right, let's get into that for real, and we're gonna make a lot of.
Let's just kind of, because I have real thoughts, right?
Yeah, like we.
So
and I've been to Astroworld. I went in 2018.
Okay, so I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff about this where it's like things are a little two-sided for a lot of reasons. Of course, it's very, very, very tragic that people died. Period.
R.I.P. Like this is a Houston tragedy,
and it's for me to see like the kids. It's like a 9th grader from Memorial High School, so like we see that right down the street.
Yeah.
There's like an A&M college student.
Yeah,
who
somebody from Heights High School. I mean, like that's
so it's just like all these things where like you're seeing these people and you can see by these people,
bro,
like
9 or 10.
So I look at certain things and I'm like, I look at people in both ways.
You know, we mourn in the city, and it sucks because he was the hometown hero. He
is. I still believe, and here's where the problem lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you look at all these people, and I start thinking, who bought a ticket, who didn't buy a ticket, right?
Right.
I can tell pretty much every victim bought a ticket. You could tell by the type of person.
Yeah.
It's not someone who's just trying to sneak in and like be there. It's like someone whose parents bought them the tickets.
Or they bought it themselves. Who knows?
Nah, that 9th grader definitely. He was a little baseball player. That dude definitely.
I'm talking about the A&M people, maybe.
Possibly, yeah. But then you deal with like some tragic stories, like the 9-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Was on his dad's shoulders. So they think like, why is these kids out there by themselves? No, this kid is on his dad's shoulders to be up and away from everything. Mm-hmm. And the pressure was too much for the dad. The dad collapsed. The kid gets trampled. But the problem with all this stuff lies in that, like, I've been to a lot of shows in my days, not necessarily crazy festivals. I've been to festivals.
And that's what I wanted to get into you. And I texted you that because you were in the hardcore scene. You were a performer in the hardcore scene, and this is where I'm coming from. Where it's easy to blame Travis Scott, and yes, there is a lot of stuff coming out where he, wasn't stopping the show or what have you.
All right.
But as a performer, and I've performed in like certain things, like not as big as you've performed, but like, I was in orchestra as a kid, the church and stuff. But like all that to say is, when you're performing, bro,
you're focused on performing.
You're focusing on performing.
So, all right. So, like, my prime example, the whole thing, at least in our type of shows, was you have to be crazy. If it's not crazy, then
it's a pussy show. Then
exactly.
Why are we here?
So, you're going to get flamed on the internet. You see Coyle Ray gets flamed on the internet when everyone's just standing still during her performance. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, it's like no one cares about you. And then you want the show to be crunk. You want the show to be, like, exciting. So, every, like, Warped Tour I've ever been to is a bunch of security guards pushing kids away from the barricade, throwing them back in the barricade, pushing them away from the stage, and then the artist being like, come on, come up, break the barricade, like saying whatever the fuck they want to say because they're performers and their job is to entertain, and security's job is to make sure that everybody's safe.
Right.
That's like how the job works.
Right.
Like, you do your thing, and then there's an entire group of people and a lot of stuff that's been figured out so that they can handle all that.
And when we're talking about these festivals, because I've been to ACL, and like I said, I've been to Astroworld, people show up to these things plastered already.
Yeah.
On drugs. So, like...
Dehydrated.
Dehydrated as... You're out there all day, bro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's water stations, but if you're drunk or high, you think you're going to be drinking water?
And there's lines everywhere. Like, it's not ideal. You have to pay $7 for a water bottle.
Some people have, like... So, when I went to ACL... Elvira and I had, and like all the homies, we all had like
a Camelback.
The Camelback, yeah. And even then, so I went to ACO way before I went to Astroworld, and honestly, bro, the amount of people that are out there, I kind of felt too old for it, and I wasn't too old for it then. I was like 22, 23 when I went, and yeah, man, it's just like there's so many people that just like swarm the stage, and even though you could get like to the back, like that's what happened at Astroworld when we went. We stayed as far away from the main stage when Travis came to perform because we were like, F that. Like, we're not trying to deal with all these people. And it was still like this. Like, you couldn't do anything. There's still people trying to mosh all the way in the back. So, that's just how it goes.
And you when you know that you're going to get into that, you kind of just have to be a little prepared. So like, there's an entire documentary about how crazy his show's getting. I don't know if that's going to work in his benefit or not in this case.
Right.
But all right, the prime thing to me is the people, right?
Right.
And every show that I've been to, the whole thing is if like, and mind you, in the type of moshing that we would do, there's actual fists and like leg swinging. So there's a high possibility
you're gonna break your
gonna
nose,
get hit. You're gonna get an eyebrow bust.
Yeah.
You're gonna like, something can happen.
And if you didn't, use a bitch.
Kind of, yeah. So
like those are like war scars,
that stuff happens. And there's a whole thing about it though. Like when that's happening, if someone's on the floor, you pick them up. If a fight breaks out, because these shows were always small enough to basically be able to see what's going on.
Yeah.
If a fight breaks out, the artist stops the show and says, yo, what the fuck? We're here to have fun and do like, let loose and express ourselves, but not to actually be violent and start
actually fighting.
The second that like a fight breaks out, everything gets stopped and those people get shut out, right?
But the key word that you said there is the show was small enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if it's not, then what happens? Security goes in there, says, hey, you're being way too fucking aggressive and pulls you out.
And kicks you out.
That's pretty much the whole thing of shows where it used to be like, don't be too aggressive. If you're too aggressive, you're going to end up getting thrown out of the show and the artist can't even do anything about it. You know what I mean? And that's where things are. There's a certain responsibility that is on certain people.
Yeah,
and
there's a chain of command, there's a delegation, because how can you put it on the artist to like do all that? That's why you have promoters. That's why you have security.
Exactly. And your entire goal is make sure this performance is good.
Right.
And if you're worried about and now that's going to have to be his thing, but if you're looking to like you can't even be in your mode, you're not just like vibing. Here's can I just talk about the biggest thing first of all is this idea that Travis Scott is looking directly at these people and noticing them. Look, the first trick I ever fucking learned when I was like in choir or some shit was look at the back of the room
and make
past everybody and everybody will think you're making eye contact with them.
Exactly.
That's like the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Look above everybody and everyone's like, I think he's looking at me.
Yeah. And the thing is, bro, like I get it. I get why people are mad, but I don't know why they're trying to cancel him over this. And also, have you noticed that no one's mad at Drake?
So here's what's going on. And it's one of those things where it's like
And I guess because it's Astroworld. So if it was like, let's say this, because this shit happened, bro. Like on Flagrant, they were talking about like all the places that this has happened at.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was at
Woodstock, all that shit.
Yeah, bro. When I was at ACL, Hunter and I saw this girl like on the trash can, like vomit just like coming out of her mouth, and we were like, "Damn, that's crazy."
Yeah. So here's the thing about it is basically because he's so like more mysterious. You don't know about you can't humanize Travis because what all that happens with Travis is, and this is his marketing, which
he's
is like
a rock star.
Yeah, but it's the thing where it's like he's larger than life, and you don't have a chance to be around him. You don't have a chance to like get his shoes. You don't have a chance to see his shows. Like there's all these things where you're like, man, he's almost mythological. And when something like this happens, it's even funnier for the fact that it's not funny, but the fact that the biggest thing that comes around is the human sacrifice shit, right?
Yeah.
Because he's so larger than life that they can't just be like, he made an honest mistake. They're like, no, he's so larger than life and so methodical. This had to have been on purpose.
And I just want to tell all like the Christian community that's spouting all this BS, can y'all stop? Not everything the devil. Like
now, if you don't know Travis Scott though,
if you don't know Travis Scott,
and now
you
see his imagery.
But like, bro, that's the thing with everything. And like, here's the thing: is if you've never been to these festivals, you don't know that people go there already high, already dehydrated, all these things. Bro, we live in Houston. It's hot. So like, and like I said, it's easy to like point the blame at him, and maybe he does have some blame, but to say all of it, why would he make himself liable for millions of dollars worth of damages to do a human sacrifice where only 8 people died? But I guess if you have your tinfoil hat on and you're an idiot, you think like half of Houston died.
And that's the thing about it is like, it's sad to say, but it's almost like the COVID thing. We're like, I don't know, out of 50,000 people, 8 ain't that bad.
Yeah.
But now it's tragic regardless.
No,
but the problem is now it's all right. So here's where I start
And
saying,
it's like instantly pushing an agenda, bro.
well, look, so here's what happened, in my opinion. And I mean,
In
it's
your own humble opinion.
literally the Travis effect, right? So every time that Travis drops a shoe, he just has to put it out somewhere and boom, it's the biggest thing in the world. Everyone wants it. Everyone's eyes are on it. It becomes the biggest resale value in the world. It's like, whoa, we all need to get this. The tickets. Man, that came out. We don't even know what it is yet, but we all need to hop on it. And because everyone has that mentality and that's his brand, every news outlet right now says if I throw Astroworld, any Astroworld news up, it's like Trump. Everyone's like, what's going on? It's Travis Scott. They're talking about Travis Scott on the news right now. Look. Literally yesterday, my parents just had the news on the whole time in the background while we were there. And it was like one little news story, more Astroworld lawsuits. A little story, this person from Astroworld. Another little story, Sylvester Turner talking about Astroworld. Because they know that if they keep on throwing Astroworld on, that we'll look. And then they'll get ratings. So it's like the Travis Scott effect working against him, where he's so goddamn popular that everyone wants to be a part of this. Everyone wants a lawsuit in it. Everybody wants, like... It's the only thing that brings him down to a human level and to a place where you can attain, like, you know, the spotlight, where it's like, he's so untouchable, but now there's a lawyer that's saying, hey, we can sue him.
Yeah.
And, like, you could get X, Y, and Z. And
yeah, and that's where I think the human sacrifice thing is ridiculous.
Of course.
Because, like, again, why would he make himself liable for all of that to...
Now, here's the one shot that I can throw at him if we can throw a shot. When do you think he knew about the situation and the severity of the situation?
So there's that video where, like, apparently someone comes up to him and then he's like, nah, fuck all that, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And it depends what that person said. Because, like I said, at these festivals, someone's bound to pass out. Yeah. It happens. So I don't know what they relayed to him. Like, if they said to him, like, yo, like, 5 people passed out, okay.
But if they said, hey, we have certain people confirmed dead,
yeah, so
that's a different
that's
story.
What I'm saying, where it's like, it depends where in the timeline and what they said to him. Because, again, if they said, like, hey, 5 people passed out, he's going to be like, okay.
Yeah. And then there's, like, the fact that he went straight to...
People are thinking about, like, ratios. How many people were there? Like
50,000 estimated, but I don't know how many extra people were there.
So if you tell him, hey, 5 people passed out on 50,000... If he stops the show, he lets everybody down because 5 people passed out. Everybody would be like, so fuck that.
Well, here's the other thing is that, like, there's all the chains of commands and they had declared a mass casualty. He still performed for 37 minutes after that. The police were basically saying, like, the police staff is like, we had enough security and people to handle the crowd at hand and get people out and stuff. But if we pulled the plug on this and this show turned into a riot because of that, we cannot control that. We don't have the manpower to control
So do you think that's
riot
on HPD?
breaking out. Well, so it's on a lot of people. It's a concerted effort for everybody to have been, because now there's releases of, like, after a certain amount of minutes of it being declared a mass casualty event, cops are filming.
And everybody's also, like, pushing a narrative to try to push liability away from them.
Yeah. So
like when the HPD was saying the whole thing of, like, the pricking.
That was them trying to be like, yeah, no, like, it was crazier than we could have even imagined. Then the HPD put out another narrative, which is that they talked to Travis Scott right before his show.
Yeah.
And, like,
right, saying,
said,
like,
hey, we're concerned about the energy in the crowd. And we just want you to be careful with your social media messaging. You're about to go on stage. What are you supposed to do?
Right.
Like, you're asking, like, if he said this beforehand in the planning.
If they had this 2 months ago.
Yeah. Then it'd be like, oh, you didn't plan to prepare for this. But you said it right before I'm about to go on stage. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah.
Cancel the show because you're concerned?
Yeah.
So what? Tell everybody, hey, HPD said they're concerned about...
Then you really have a real riot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Like, there's... Now, the problem for me comes, like, I don't understand how... And maybe there's this chain of commands. Like, I get the idea of going straight off stage and then dipping off into your car and going off to wherever you need to go. And maybe that's how you ends up at the Dave & Buster's party that Drake's throwing, right?
Right.
And allegedly, he gets told at the party, and once he gets told, he leaves, right? but something like no one's in the car with like who's your squad, and no one's in the car being like, bro, there was like, but all right. When I started seeing people buzz down barricades and getting the news about that earlier in the day.
But that happens every year.
Of course. I'm seeing that earlier in the day, and I don't know how long between the time it happened, but between the time it gets relayed to us. I didn't start seeing the news that people had died until like I woke up in the middle of the night to use the restroom or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm on my phone and I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. And it was probably like maybe 6 a.m.
Yo, I didn't hear about it until one of my boys was going, and he I didn't hear about it till the morning after because he told me.
Yeah, the next morning when I'm looking, that's where I'm seeing it. So I'm wondering, like, you hear that people are passed out and people are being treated there, but
here's the thing.
When do you get your first confirmed death, right? Like, by what time do they get to the hospital and declare that person dead and then relay the news
to Travis?
People
are acting like Travis is supposed to know everything, what everyone is doing. And here's the thing. Like, the year we went, we saw on Instagram people breaking down the barricades, and I told everybody, I was like, yo, let's not go there yet. Look at what's happening. So we waited another hour, then we went. And then when we got there in the parking lot, you saw all these, like, shoes. So, like, that shit happens. When we left that year, after it was over, we didn't walk to the exit. We got shoved to the exit. So, like, I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is the expectation that, like, Travis has set forth with his fans of, like, we're the Ragers, we don't care, we're going to break down barricades.
That's the kind of stuff that I feel like brings this energy of just a malfunction. I mean, it's fun to make yourself. I don't know, man. Here's the biggest person I think about is Tyler, right? Tyler's been arrested multiple times, same as Travis, for inciting riots, for making crowds crazy, for doing things that maybe people would see as unconventional in performances. Yeah. And then he kind of grew from that. But we also saw that situation where Drake got booed off stage, and that was another representation of, yo, sometimes when you are a certain way, you make shitty fans. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you being the way you are that you think is just you, kids take that and it's impressionable, and now you have, like, in my opinion, back then was like the most spoiled fans where, like, your favorite artist, brought out one of the biggest artists in the world for you guys to enjoy.
But because it wasn't the idea that you thought that you projected on them,
then you're going to shit on them and everything that they've, like, put forth. Like, do you have any idea how like much it takes to get Drake to come out here? And y'all are like, fuck Drake. It's not Frank.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where it's like, yo, what the fuck? And I wonder if that makes you take a step back, because I really think that made Tyler take a step back and be like, yo, what the fuck am I doing, like, to my fans? Like, what messaging am I putting out to them?
Right.
And if you're self-aware like that, then you might be able to, like, evolve. And I think he has evolved a lot from, like, I think showing fans more hip-hop, being like, hey, I need you guys to respect hip-hop.
Doing the gangster grills and like really spitting.
I think he kind of needed to be like, you guys need a lesson in hip-hop.
Slapping all the E-boys in the face and saying, yo.
I know we was on pussy shit, but, like, yo, this
is hip-hop.
Yeah. And so that's where I think it made it change. And I wonder if this is going to make Travis evolve, because it's hard to keep on with the same brand. You almost have to change it.
Right. You
almost have to change the way you, like, look at the game, because now you're like, no, we kind of have to go in a different direction.
Like, this is not sustainable.
This is not sustainable. This is like the fact that he's off day in Vegas and they're petitioning to get him off of Coachella. Like, apparently he had a one-off show in Saudi Arabia that was going to be like 5-point-something million.
Yeah.
He dropped that. And so, like, touring's where you make your money.
Right.
And let's go into the escape plan thing, where I already had this. I didn't think it was going to be like this. But I had a feeling that Travis stock was going to get ready to take the dip. Like, if I was like owning Travis Scott stock, I was like seeing signs that I was like, I'm about to sell, because he did the thing where it's almost dangerous to do, where you do everything, right?
Right.
So he did McDonald's, he did like all these crazy
the overexposure,
and that's where I was like, whoa, why are you doing that, right? And then I was like, wait a minute, I think he thinks his stock's ready to drop. He's like, it only goes up for so long. You
can only be on top for so long.
You can only be the hype for so long.
Yeah.
So he goes, all right, cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out, right?
Yeah.
Get all of the get myself right for life shit. And then he bought like this crazy multi-million-dollar house in cash so that it would be all paid off. And so he got like a half off deal on it because he did it all in cash. He didn't finance anything. So in that song, he goes, some multi-estate plan, that was the escape plan. Like, if I need to escape type shit,
Yeah.
I have my shit set up.
Musically, I don't think he's come out with anything crazy in a long time.
Well, it's been 4 years. Here's another problem, all right?
He also overexposed his sound
Kind of.
with features, because those 2 songs that he put out before the show were, in my opinion, were not good.
I like them, but I'm a Travis Scott fan. So,
but I'm a Travis fan too, bro. And like at the same time, it's just like, bro, I've heard of this before. I've heard of this already. This sounds like everything else.
Kind of. I enjoyed them, but it makes me think like, okay, so I think he plays like the Drake game. It's hard to do it, but you hop on people's songs who are like starting to pop. So like I know Baby Keem's been around and has been in the conversation, but he wasn't in my radar for a while. Then he gets on my radar. How does he get on my radar? He has a song with Travis Scott.
Yeah.
That's a real good vibe. Then I really just get into what he's doing, into Baby Keem, and now I get into all that, right? Well, so he keeps himself, here's what the thing they do. They're not taking credit for this music because they're a feature, but they're constantly in the charts. So you get to like say you've been on the charts this whole time, but people are still anticipating your project. So it's been 4 years since Astroworld, right? This is the thing where I'm getting concerned about. It's been like 4 years since Astroworld, the album. And he's done all this shit since then. All these festivals have stemmed from that album. And then he's done constant features to where we don't feel like he's been gone. We see him all the time, but we're still like, when the fuck is this next album coming out? So now this whole thing is the rollout plan for Utopia. It's the same type of plan that you were dealing with before. You get the festival that gets everyone in the country's eyes. Just you don't want it like this though. And then he put out 2 songs right before the festival so that people are hearing those songs live. So the goal is, damn, he dropped 2 songs of his own. Damn, he performed them at the festival. Look at the live footage because Apple was filming.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh shit, the Utopia's coming. You saw how crazy the festival is. Look at all this merch. Now all those kids are reselling the merch. So the merch is going crazy. And then he gets to announce Utopia coming out. There was literally...
That was a plan.
There was a literal plan where investors of the label were getting like for their quarterly expectations or whatever, a list of the artists that are putting out records in the next 6 months, and Travis Scott's name was on that list. I don't know how it's going to happen now, but he was planning to release Utopia within 6 months. So this is the rollout, and now it's squashed.
And but like I will say this with Drake, because Drake will do that, but at least Drake. And yes, people say he's a culture vulture or whatever, but at least his sound evolves and changes. Like, if he's going to do a song with Bad Bunny, then he's going to, like, do the Spanish thing and, like, try to rap like that.
But the problem is Travis Scott's sound is the feature.
It's exactly. So that's why when he does his own project, you're just like, bro, this is...
But what he does is he brings in a lot of other...
I think he pigeonholed himself.
I don't think so, because the whole thing is it's technically just experimental. He has a dark sound, but he experiments and then grabs. So for me, it's like, okay, yeah, he did his sound that's like a thing, but then like, why the fuck he's got like, what the fuck his name is, like James Blake and like Stevie Wonder doing a harmonica solo where you're like, that shit's different though. And he does it to where like it hits.
Bro, if I can guess when the It's Lit is coming.
But that's an ad lib. I can guess when the 2121's coming.
No, for sure. But like, what I'm saying is like, there's a certain thing that like, it doesn't change. It doesn't make me, like at least Ye dropped Yeezus and it sucked and everyone hated it, but like it was different.
Okay, but you say that, but his concerts are so lit. This might just be a thing that we or you, because I don't even 100% agree, that you just feel, because obviously his, like, I'll talk to people and people will be like, his music isn't even that lit necessarily.
It's really slow if you think about it.
That high energy.
Yeah.
But obviously it hits to these people. People are going crazy. Same thing where I don't understand the Playboi Carti thing, but it's a thing.
Can we talk about like the fact where in Drink Champs Part 1 when they asked Ye, Kid Cudi or Travis Scott.
And he basically said the truth. He said Travis Scott is a mix of me, Cudi, and Rocky. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I have to go Cudi because that's what influences that.
Yeah.
But that's a mix of us. And you can say that, and he took that mix and gave Cudi his first number one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you take and you give. Mm-hmm. You take and you give back. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the whole thing of like how they make it all work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird because it just makes me wonder, like, how's the rollout going to be? Did the escape plan get him to where he needs to be, where he can sit on his earnings for the rest of his life and be fine and just lose the Astroworld name? Because if he's smart, right, you can't sue him, right? You can only sue the company. So everything's under the LLC.
Right.
They can bankrupt the company or whatever, but they can't touch your personal finances. Mm-hmm. So if all works out well there in Live Nation and Cactus Jack and all the companies that he's got to deal with take these hits and he just,
I don't think Live Nation is going to go out without a fight. I think Live Nation is going to try to put it on him more than them.
I don't think they can do that. It depends on who was responsible for the plans, because there was no plan for a crowd surge. And that's the big thing. There was no plan in place in their procedures for dealing with the crowd surge. Yeah,
with people that broke into the show and like...
And not to mention that situation happened in previous events, but wasn't addressed. So that's become who's responsible for putting that together. But it's also
like people always break into shows. Like if you watch like any video, it's always like this is how I broke into like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
This is how I broke into blah 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 blah. So that's also a thing that no one addresses.
But this one was a little. People might say I don't know how it's going to work, but look back to Travis's tweets to say you basically said you were going to let them in. Because he has that thing where he says, we sneak in the wild ones in.
Yeah, he did say that.
So it's like, you're not expecting this shit to happen when you're saying these things. Mm-hmm. And you can chalk it up to it being promo and marketing.
Right.
But it could also be looked at as you're inciting
this to happen. So we'll see how it happens.
How it plays out. But
again, shouts out to the families that, are hurting.
Yeah.